Stop using luck as an argument. Luck does not exist. I actually wrote a proper script for this video. That's how you know that you managed to piss me off. So if that was your intent, congratulations, you succeeded. Now sit down while I take you apart. Now let's be clear. Probability, or the chance of something happening, or the chance of someone doing something, is a branch of mathematics that has been developed for thousands of years. And today there are many people who work high-paying jobs simply calculating how likely it is for something to happen. People trading stocks, people calculating how much insurance should cost, and so on and so forth, because as you will see, most things eventually falls into a pattern which we can calculate the likelihood of. By the way, you're not special. You're not the one snowflake that falls outside of this category. You were not born lucky. There is no such a thing as being born lucky. Now, let's understand that luck is just a term that we use when we don't want to consider the many factors that makes up the probability of something happening. Now, luck makes it sound like it's predetermined, which it is not. You know, it is a random chance, and by that nature, it cannot be predetermined. Let's say that we flip a coin, head or tails. Either we get the side that we betted on, or else we don't. So we either have a success or a failure with a 50-50% chance of either happening, assuming that we're using a fair coin. Now, what's important to understand is that we can never hit the 50% success rate. It's not possible to both get heads and tails. So either the result is lucky or the result is unlucky. And this goes for data sets as well. You know, if you flip it 100 times, you may get 54%, which is still lucky. Sometimes you can get a nominal result where you get 50%, but that is very rare. Now, so what's important to understand here is that you cannot get lucky as a person because you are not an outcome and you are not a data set. You cannot be lucky, you cannot be unlucky, but you can get lucky and you can get unlucky whenever you perform an action hoping to see a success and you get a failure. If you had an 80% chance of succeeding, you would have gotten unlucky. And vice versa, if you have a small percentile chance of it happening, but you still succeed, you have gotten lucky. But you as a person are not lucky or unlucky. Now, quickly moving on to more of exactly the same thing, you cannot accumulate luck. Luck is not something that can be stored or saved for later, nor good luck or bad luck. It simply is not possible. If you were very likely to succeed, let's say you had a 99% chance, but you fail, you hit that 1% and you get a failure. You know, if you try again, it's not like you have more than 99%. Or if you have 80% chance, it's still gonna be 80% chance. Whenever you have a success or a failure, that does not affect your next attempt. That is not how probability works. Another reason why luck really cannot be attributed to a human is because humans are way too complex to be considered lucky or unlucky. Yeah, really. Let's say you take a step, right? And you don't fall. Are you lucky because you didn't fall? And if you do fall, are you then lucky because you didn't get hurt too bad? Or are you hurt because you didn't, or are you lucky because you didn't get severely injured? Or are you lucky because you have a higher pain tolerance because of the good genes that you have? Or is that a case of your environment hardening you over time? And were you lucky to be born into an environment where you were hardened over time? Or are you unlucky for this very same reason? Or is it because of your biological makeup that you have a higher? Do you know what I mean? Like you can keep going down this fucking path forever, right? So when we talk about lucky and unlucky, we have to isolate it to a specific attempt, hoping for a success or a failure with a set probability. I have another point here that says that it's impossible for a person to be an outcome or a data set. Other than the fact that that's kind of obvious, I also think I have already talked about that, so yeah. So this is a very simple 50-50 chance, right? You have a ball that falls down and hits a peg, and it can either go one direction or it can go in the other direction. Now, if we add another layer to this, you will actually see the beginning of a bell curve. Now you might ask, why is it that this one is more likely than this one, for example? Well, that's because there's only one way for this to occur. First, we have to hit a 50-50 on this pack to get here, and then we have to hit another 50-50 to get here. And the same thing over here. We have to split here and split again and go here. Now, with this one, there's actually two ways we can hit this, because we can go down here and then split this way, or we can go down here and split that way. Which means that if we repeat this over and over again, we will more commonly see that the ball is gonna go down here. Now, what I have just described to you is the beginning of a bell curve or a normal distribution, which I'll be kind enough to throw up on screen right now. As you can see, the majority of the results land in the middle. They land closer to the average. So you'll see there is, flip a coin more often, we're gonna come closer to the middle. And as also you'll see on the very fringes on the outside, which makes up a relatively large part of the graph if you think about it, is only 0.1. This is the same reason when people tell me that they got 5 Aya twice in a row, I roll my eyes. Because the likelihood of, you're not even out in that 0.1%. You're out at the very tip where it just looks like a line. You're out there because it's basically impossible. Now, just to cover all bases, I'm gonna bring up the fact that an outcome of one attempt has no bearing of the probability of the outcome of your next try. Unless, of course, it is literally a specific mechanic in the game. Obviously, that's not what I'm talking about. Now, the moral for those of you who are still watching and didn't just want this demonstrated is that you should assume that you're going to get unlucky. Not that you necessarily are unlucky as a person, but for this very specific thing that you're trying to accomplish through taking a risk, you should assume that you're going to get unlucky. And the reason why you might want to do this is because it actually stops unnecessary risks. Because when assuming that you're gonna get unlucky, you are naturally gonna be a little bit more careful. And so when more carefully considering if there is an alternative, often you will find that the average time spent to achieve your reward is gonna be less with the safer approach, if there is one. If there's not, then you might just have to take the risk. But stepping back and assuming I'm gonna get unlucky, is there a way that I can protect myself against getting unlucky? That's a pretty good idea. Now let me go ahead and give you a demonstration in terms of Aya, so that I can actually get clicks on this video. Now, normally when I'm responding to one of your comments, I would put it up on screen, but I think that's pretty pointless since this one particular comment is in Spanish, which I speak a little bit of Spanish, enough to understand the basic gist of this comment. And if I got it wrong, then that's not my fault, that's your fault. You should have put it in English instead of Spanish. I never made any inclinations to being able to speak Spanish, and you were clearly able to watch the video and understand the context of it enough that you were able to comment on it. So that's your problem, not mine. But anyways, the gist of the comment is basically, it's all up to chance. It's all random. Basically, he says he used 10 tries to get the part that he wanted from a specific relic, which, considering that the chance is 10%, it almost sounds like you're doing it solo, my friend, which you're supposed to do it in a squad. Like I and a million other people have made millions of videos on why you have to do it in a squad with other people. Anyways, that's not the point of this. So basically, he says that it took him 10 tries. Let's just assume he did it in a squad, which means that he got unlucky, and what that actually means. Welcome to Microsoft Excel spreadsheets. I live here, by the way. When I don't make videos, I just live here. This is my home now. Anyways, so 31 Aya per hour. Already done a video on this. You can check that out. Whatever. 5 hours per week, which is 2 sessions per week. I don't think that's unrealistic. We're talking specifically about the elite players here. Just the elite players. Weeks per month, which is 4.1 weeks-ish per month, and then 200 players. And then the calculation is very simply a multiplication of everything. Very simple stuff. And that leaves us with an insane 127,000 IR farmed per month. That's kind of insane. And you know, that's assuming that there's at least 200 people who have watched the video. Let's say 10% of those do it. There's already a lot of people from the let's say non-Western part of the globe who does this, and I'm sure that there's other elite players who knows about this. You know, it wasn't a huge revelation. I had to learn it from somewhere. Anyways, usually there are 2 valuable parts per unvaulting, and that's the golden part of the Warframes in question. The weapons, most of the time, are not gonna be worth anything. Obviously, if you have Nami Skylar, that's a different story, but for the most part, we're talking about 2 useful parts. And sometimes, Warframes are so undesirable that we're just talking about 1 part. But anyways, the chance of getting a part looks like this, and the reason why it is not 40% is because sometimes you're gonna get 2 of the part you want at the same time, and you can only pick 1 of them. So on average, you're gonna walk away with 33, a 1/3 of a desired rare part you want per relic. That's a weird way of putting it. Now, valuable parts added. So this is the amount of parts that's gonna be added into the system every rotation if people do this, which not really, but stick with me. So this is 22,000 roughly, 22,000 parts of each of the rare parts. So assuming that these sell 60 of these parts per day for a year, right? That's how long it's gonna take to get rid of it. Now, people are not gonna waste this shit on like Atlas Prime, Ivara Prime, stuff like that. Undesirable Prime Warframes, people are not gonna be wasting this stuff on them, and it doesn't matter because, as I've proved to myself, they're just not gonna increase much at all. Now, some of the more valuable frames like Ember and Frost, at least for a while, Loki, Vauban, Saren, those highly sought after Warframes that has been vaulted for a long time, people are just gonna save up for those. So if most people skip a month, people may have 200,000 IR instead, and then they're gonna buy even more relics, and they're gonna flood the market with even more parts. So right now I'm just sort of covering my back from my last video instead of actually talking about luck. But so let's talk about this comment. He says, it took me 10 tries, it's all RNG. Now, as we've talked about, as we increase the number of tries, the results does normalize. So the more points we have in our data set, the closer we're gonna get to the estimated value. What this guy is suggesting basically is that he attempted to do this. He tried this and he got unlucky, and he only got the part he was looking for after 10 tries. So because of this, we should change this. Instead of using this formula, we should just add 10%, because it took him 10 tries, so it must be 10% for everyone. Because obviously, I do know that your mileage will vary. That's the point of random chance. It's non-deterministic. Sometimes you're going to get very unlucky, and you won't get the part that you want, even though you have made a much larger number of tries than should be expected. And other times you're gonna luck out and get it on your first try. And the average of that is what I'm calculating here. Obviously, I have no, if you have a 60% chance of success and you try once, I don't have any way of calculating your chance of success outside of those 60%. I don't actually have the ability to look into the future. Obviously, I'll see you in the next one.